In 1982, we were introduced to John Rambo on screen for the first time. And from that, it spawned a franchise that has ran for 37 years up until 2019. The franchise itself has spawned a cartoon. It has spawned 2 other novelisations of the movies from the original novel in 72. It has spawned a number of video games over numerous platforms. It has spawned comic books as well. For it being a franchise that has lasted that long, where most of the media was successful, the animated show lasted for 1 series. The games were fairly successful, and the novels are a good read as well. The 5 movies themselves are a great watch. The first movie itself is a self-contained story. It has the character going from being an outcast to being hunted for being a soldier. It shows the mentality of the Americans, or some Americans, and how they treated their veterans back then. I mean, they treated these people with such disdain because they lost a war. That is essentially it. They give them no respect or anything, and this movie portrays that fantastically. With the second and third movie, it starts off with them in the prison because of the events of the first movie. That has a full redemption arc from what happened until the end of the third movie. With the 3 of them, they are essentially a self-contained franchise in themselves, which ran from 82 till 88. So that was over the course of 6 years that these first 3 movies were, and they were fairly successful. I mean, Sylvester Stallone was coming off the success of the first 3 Rocky movies, which I will get to in another video. He had read this book while making Rocky, and he wanted to make it into a movie. He thought, this is great, it's fantastic, the story's there, so that we could make it into an action type movie, but it would be a character driven action movie, which hadn't really been done up until that point. There had been tons of action movies beforehand, there's been tons after, and a lot of the time it's the action that drives everything forward, except Rambo First Blood. With the second and third movies, the character had been established, so these movies were still character driven rather than action, although with the second, third, fourth and fifth movie, there was a lot more action than there was in the first one. Again, that was due to budget and what they could get their hands on, whereas the other movies, because of the success, they were given a bigger budget, they could do more things, they could take it to other places. With the first one, they couldn't go anywhere except America because the budget wouldn't let them, so they're like, right, we'll film it here. And then all the other movies, they could take it to other places, exotic places, and the budget wouldn't take a big hit on that. With all the other movies, it makes a great franchise, and I do advise people to go and watch them, and if you can, try and get a hold of the novels, because like I said, they're a great read. With the success that Sylvester Stallone did have from the Rocky movies, and then the success he's had from Rambo, and now the success he's had from the Expendables, he has essentially made himself one of the most successful actor, writer, directors in the industry over the past 50 years really, because the first Rocky was in 1976. He didn't direct the first Rocky, but he has directed since. He wrote the story, he wanted this to be made. He essentially made this movie to make or break himself, because he funded the movie himself. He sold everything he had. He was living in a car, and this movie was a success. And then from that, he decided he'll do another franchise that he saw while he was doing the Rocky films. He picked up the book and he was reading it while he was doing Rocky, and then he thought, I could make this a movie, this could be a movie, but I need a good director who can do an action movie. And so he got somebody else in to direct it. He has directed some of the later Rambo movies, I believe. I don't think that has hindered any of his movies when he comes in and directs them. He does have a knowledge of the industry, considering he has been in the industry since the 70s. He knows what he's doing. He's been here. He's done everything that you can do. I don't think that anybody else could have played this character. This will be forever Sylvester Stallone is John Rambo, just like he is Rocky Balboa. You couldn't actually see anybody else in that role. There's lots of people out there and lots of movies where you think, oh, they would have been good for that or that. But with these movies, you can't actually picture anybody else doing them. And I think that is something that Sylvester Stallone has that a lot of people in the industry nowadays don't have, where they come in, they play the character, and then they go. A lot of people aren't invested in their characters the way he is. He has an emotional bond with each character that he has played, and you can see that even in his comedy roles that he's done. You can see that he is still emotionally connected to the character. He puts so much of himself into these characters, and that is portrayed in these movies, and I think that is something that helps make a Sylvester Stallone movie. You go into a Sylvester Stallone movie expecting it to be a Sylvester Stallone movie. You don't go into other movies with other characters expecting it to be their movie. You expect it to be this movie, whereas with Sylvester Stallone it is just his movie, because he writes it, he directs it, he does this, he does that. He's always got more than one role in the movie. As of the recording, there is talk of a TV series. I don't know much about it, because all there is people saying, oh, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this idea that we had in the 90s that didn't really come to anything. Sylvester Stallone has said that he will easily play Rambo again. It's a character that is close to his heart, and he says that he will never not say no if somebody comes to him with an idea. But essentially, as of now, there is no new movies going to be made. There's no other games, comics or novelizations that are in the works that we know of. The only thing is this TV series that could be coming out. There's still no story. Sylvester Stallone has said that he thinks that it could be something to do with John Rambo going back to the Native American reservation where he was brought up and just having a quiet life, and that's how it would end. But it's how he gets from the start of where we see him now till then, and it's how they're going to work it. Are they going to make it into a movie? We're just going to have to wait and see. I mean, with the Expendables 4 about to release soon, it could depend on the success of this to see if there is still a market for big budget action type movies or series. This is one that I will be actively looking up, because as a franchise and its longevity, which I have spoke about before, and that's a franchise I was brought up with. I remember watching these movies when I was younger. Probably shouldn't have been watching them at the age I was, but I remember watching them and thinking, these are fantastic big budget action movies, and then they dropped off for a while. So overall, I think that the Rambo movies are great. There's not one of them that I would give any less than 3 stars. The first one is definitely a 5-star movie, because it set the scene for the franchise. It opened it up and said, here we are, this character is going to be brutalised but also immortalised. I am sort of taking a back seat to superhero things for a while. I've done a lot of superhero things. I'll still be putting up a lot of superhero things about shows and movies that are coming soon. I will be doing a video soon about Batman, and all of the movies that he is involved in. But that won't be for a wee bit, because I need to go and watch all of the Batman movies again. And that does include the 1966 Batman. And it also includes the Flash movie, because he is so heavily involved in the movie. I'm debating whether to have the 2017 Justice League, because it's just so bad. I don't know whether to involve that in that video, because I just don't want to watch it again. I also have been watching some terrible, terrible movies that you have suggested to me, and thanks for that, because they are really bad. Some of them are terrible. I will be starting those videos as well fairly soon. There's a lot of things coming, and I'll leave you with that. See ya.